Okay, we're now recording. So welcome, Tammie. Thanks so much for joining us to have this chat today.
No worries at all.
So I'm going to run the slideshow for Tammie as she needs, but otherwise we'll let you maybe introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background, Tammie.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Tash. And thanks for having me on today. This is really exciting. I work as an occupational therapist. I've got specialist training in mental health and primarily work with young people. So my favorite people to work with are teenagers and teenagers, so about 12 to 25-year-olds, which I just love. So I've got my own private practice, Authentic Living OT, but I work out of the Peds in a Pod office at Wollongabba and see people individually there. I've run heaps of group programs for young people. And I guess more importantly is my recent experience being safe at home with my 9 and 11-year-old children. So we have been in social isolation for about 12 days now, not that I'm counting, and which has given me some really creative ideas for how to support parents at this time, which is pretty stressful at the moment. So yeah, I guess I specialize in stress management, helping families create routines for kids, with ADHD, autism, that kind of thing. I specialize in sleep and a therapy called acceptance commitment therapy. So yeah, I'm just really passionate about working with young people to help them create really a great mental well-being.
Awesome. So do you want me to just open up the thing and we'll work our way through it? Or
Yeah, sounds good.
all right, let me make sure.
And while you're doing that, I'm wearing my best sparkles for you guys today.
I do love the sequence.
Yeah. This is what's keeping me mentally healthy at the moment, is wearing all the cool stuff that I never get to wear in my wardrobe. So I thought I would represent today with a bit of daytime sparkle.
I do love all the memes that are going around saying, oh, it's bin day. What will I wear to the driveway?
Ooh, so exciting. Yeah, it's a highlight for me having these Zoom meetings. It's great.
Me too at the moment. Yeah. All right. So you talk your way through it and tell me when you want me to move slides.
Yeah. So did you want to do the questions, Tash?
Yeah.
And
So let's, okay, now I've got to work out how to move through these while we're on the screen. There we go. So obviously many parents are suddenly working from home and having to homeschool, which for most people probably is something they've never had to do before.
Yeah.
And, I guess that's causing a lot of stress for everyone. So maybe give us an idea of where to just start with that concept to begin with.
I think a really good place to start is to just acknowledge that this is really bloody difficult right now. So this is a really, really tough time for most people. And if you don't have everything together right now, neither does anyone else. Okay. So just, I guess, that reassurance that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to be real and be authentic about what's going on. So having said that, if we go to the next slide, you might actually resonate with some of these, with this poor Barbie, which is just my favorite meme going around on the internet at the moment. She's looking disheveled there in the middle, and this is me trying to work from home, watch my kids, stay hydrated, not be broke, stay quarantined, find toilet paper, wash my face and wash my hands and stop touching my face. So there's actually a lot that we are expected to do at the moment. And so you might be thinking, how am I supposed to keep my kids calm when I'm not feeling calm? You might be really stressed out about the fact that you and your partner are working from home and the kids are supposed to be working. And how do we do that? Like all in the same house. I'm actually in a position at the moment where we were thinking of renovating because my house was too small. Imagine how small that's feeling now. So I can really resonate with that one. You might be thinking, what the heck is homeschooling and how am I supposed to do that? Very good question. And some people I've talked to are on their own. They're parents who are looking after their child on their own, who rely on their village and can't access their village right now. So there's a number of scenarios which is pretty confusing for people right now. So I think we just need to acknowledge this is a once in a lifetime kind of thing. We've never experienced anything like this in our lives, and our whole way of life has changed on a personal everyday level, but also importantly on that global societal level as well. So however you're dealing with this right now is you're just doing the best that you can. So I just wanted to start with a message of self-compassion, because I think that's really, really important. So if your kids are eating cereal for dinner and you don't get out of their jammies and they're on screens today because that's how you're dealing with life, that's okay. Okay, so that's where I wanted to start, Tash, with just reassuring people.
Yeah, I think that's a great message, because absolutely, I think even already, I think social media and that whole highlight reel concept that happens with social media, everyone shows their best life and not the behind the scenes stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People being shamed for not, writing the great novel at the time, this downtime or something like that.
Yeah, and why am I not being productive? I've got 4,000 things in my house that need doing. And why do I just feel like sitting here on the couch? Because you know what? This is a really stressful time right now. So that's okay. So I wanted to start there. And then if we go to the next slide, it just kind of highlights a few little things about why would you then even bother setting up a schedule. So I'm an Aquarius. I do not naturally love sticking to a strict schedule, but we know that from the science and the research that if the outside world is in chaos, routines allow some kind of predictability and security for our kiddies and for us. So stress levels are extreme right now. When something like a pandemic is happening, our natural body response is to go into that fight or flight or freeze mode. So we're constantly on alert for danger. Our brains have to predict, how to keep us safe. So that's quite exhausting, really, because at a really physical level. So it can affect how we sleep. It can affect the tension in our body. Even our digestion can go a bit weird. So all of that's quite exhausting. So with all that going on, a routine is a really easy, simple way to create some predictability in the day. So for kids, I try and explain it to adults like, we know that the sun will rise in the morning and set at night. We know that. That's what happens every day, even during a pandemic. So our kids need some kind of sure thing to attach themselves to go that no matter what's going on out there, at 9 o'clock in the morning, we do exercise because that's how we start our day, or we have to be out of our jammies by 8:30, or at 3 o'clock, the learning stops and we can go on back to gaming. Like they need some kind of security and something to look forward to really in the day. So it's very, very easy way to create security for our kids. And it actually gets a lot of things done. So that picture of Barbie before, when she's like, my kids have to eat fruit and I've got to drink water so if you build that into a schedule, then that's actually really, it's actually going to get a lot of things done without even trying that hard. Okay. So hello, Anita. Welcome.
I'm loving your background. I'm
She's on a sunny beach. Oh, beautiful. Lovely.
So, Tammie, what about for people that what you're talking about with schedule and sticking to things strictly probably works well for younger kids. What about people with some older teens that the idea of a schedule is just utterly horrendous to them, and trying to get your kids to, to be honest, get my son out of bed by 9 o'clock is a miracle right now.
Yeah. So I guess it's just thinking about it from a developmental point of view. It's our for a teenager, it's a really normal to want to sleep late and go to bed late. So it's actually a documented thing. It's called a delayed sleep phase. And most kids that I work with, whether they're uni students or upper high school, will naturally on a school holiday scenario wake up later, go to bed later. That's really, really normal and common. So go with that. That's fine. Don't get them out of bed by 9. But when they are up, like have an agreed time. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 11. But when they are up, okay, you will be up by 11 o'clock and you will, make your bed and and then this is what you need to do. So you can still set up a routine, but in a developmentally appropriate way for a teenager, if that makes sense. But just a word on routines, it's actually really okay to not set up a routine as well. I just want to say that. I mean, I know today is about how do we do this, and I'll certainly go into that, but every family is different, and every family needs to decide what's going to work for them and their particular situations. So I just want to remind people, this is a fairly triggering thing. Everyone in the world at the moment is grieving the loss of something, and it might, it's kind of, grief is very personal. It's personal to you. So it might be grieving the loss of being able to give your friends a hug. I know I'm missing that at the moment. It might be grieving the loss for a kid of seeing their mates at school and being able to run around with them. Some of our kids have really high energy needs. So at home, it's really kind of hard to give them that same routine. So everyone is grieving, and that's going to trigger, if you've got grief and loss already, like a significant grief and loss going on in your life, or in the recent past, that might trigger some really hard kind of feelings or some memories. So I think sometimes it's okay to just scrap the routine altogether and have those days where you're just in your pajamas, that's okay. So let's just try and remember that there are some situations, some families are already dealing with mental health problems. Don't even start with the economic factors right now. People are losing their jobs. So this is a real survival type time. So I just wanted to say, even though we're going to launch you to how to set up a routine, it's okay to not do that, or to abandon it completely one day, that's fine too.
Okay.
So a lot of people might be thinking, which schedule do I follow? There's some beautiful, colourful COVID-19 daily schedules going around on the internet right now. And I must admit, the OT in me loved seeing this. I was like, hell yes, look at this. It's all made out for me. And then when I actually tried to apply it, my goodness, found that they were not going to work for our family. So I guess that's what today's about is, if one of these works for you, go nuts. That's great. The hard work's done. But chances are you're going to have to tweak these a little to suit your family. Yeah?
Sure.
All right. So if you go to the next slide there, Tash, this is a picture of me and my kids on day 2, where she looks at me like that all the time. We just had no idea what we're doing. I'm like, this is like day 2 of, okay, guys, get up, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a schedule. And they were just like, are you kidding me? Like, why can't we just play Fortnite all day? So anyway, I just thought I would put that in to keep it real, really.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what makes me an expert more than anything, is I've had 12 days practice ahead of everyone else to be getting this stuff right and to tweaking our schedule. So, but I just want to remind everyone that's where we started. So think about things to consider when you're setting up your schedule. Physical environment is so important. Like I said before, we were looking at renovating or selling. Our house was this kind of, we were getting it to this show home kind of state. Well, that's gone out the window. I had to create a private, confidential space for me to do my therapy online, and set up a space for my kids so that it's a workspace and it's a school space. And our poor dining room table is getting a really big workout at the moment. It's an ever-changing landscape. It becomes our art workshop in the afternoon, and then it gets cleared off for our family dinners at night. But during the day, it's their school desk. So think about really carefully your physical environment. We haven't got my husband home with us yet. I expect that to be happening the next day or 2. So again, we're going to have to think about that. I might be kicking him out to the garage. We need to, you just need to make sure that everyone's got their own space, and consider need for confidentiality as well. One of the ideas I saw, which was really, really helpful, I think, is having a roster for supervision of kids. You've probably seen all the hilarious memes. Like, let me just say, the internet is keeping me sane right now. It's so, so funny. Yeah. There's a lot of memes going around about Zoom meetings and kids interrupting, and I'll be surprised if I can get through this meeting today without a knock on my door. So just thinking about if you are both working from home, having one adult who's the go-to parent, not just the default parent like normal, which is usually mum, but having, you know, okay, dad's on roster from 10 till 12, do not speak to mum, she's on meeting, she's doing whatever she needs to do, but actually I think that can be really, really helpful. So just tag teaming it and sharing the load. And then the next 2 points, lowering your standards, taking the pressure off, I think really, really important, and checking your expectations. The words homeschool to me, kind of, I had all these images of, you know, 9 till 3 we'll have classes, but no, the research that I've done with mums who are amazing homeschool mums say that's just not how it rolls. When you're at home, it gets done quicker, so you can allow less time. So yeah, don't be scheduling your kids from 9 till 3 with maths and English. Like, that's just, it's going to end up in tears for both of you. So what we're doing at the moment, in fact, what they're saying is that we are crisis schooling. We are not homeschooling. So very big distinction there. Yeah, what we're being asked to do is crazy. So let's just take our expectations down a notch. If they don't get that assignment handed in, no one's going to die. Yeah.
My family did homeschool our kids for a while we were living overseas through the distance education. And even then, when we were doing that full time, it was still only 2 to 3 hours a day at the most.
Yeah.
Distance education or online education is different to face-to-face school education. It's not expected to take as long because you get through everything. It's one-on-one attention, and the online lectures they had with teachers, it still only took about 3 hours a day. So.
Yeah, which for me as a mum who's never homeschooled, I was so glad to hear that. I guess it just took the pressure off me going, you know what, we just get the schoolwork done and then we do other stuff. You know, there's other things to think about here. So I think that was really helpful for me to know as someone who's never homeschooled her kids and never will in the future, let me tell you. Yeah, so that's really important, I think. Yeah. So if we go to the next slide, Tasha, it's kind of just a few of my tips for thinking about how do I do this? Like, if I'm going to try with this routine thing, how are we going to do it? I really want to make a point here that a lot of those schedules that are floating around the internet only consider the needs of the child, not the needs of the poor mother who will turn to alcohol by the end of the day. Otherwise, she needs to have her needs met. And when I say she, I mean me. So again, this is something I have tried and failed, and then now I feel like I've got a good kind of balance. So I will show you our schedule in just a moment and show you how I do that. But consider mum's needs, dad's needs. The only person who's loving this situation right now are our dogs, who get walked more often than they've ever had in their life. But yeah, everyone's needs need to be considered here. One of my top tips would be stick really strictly to the timing. Now note this difference, not the activity. So create some urgency. Come on guys, get up, let's go. It's 8:31 and you're not dressed and had your medicine. You know, kind of push them along, because I think they, you know, they'll whinge, go, oh mum, oh, but it's kind of normal. That's our normal, you know. So it's creating a sense of normal. It's creating a sense of security, you know. So we normally are the nagging parents, and we need to continue to do that, if only to maintain a sense of normalcy. Be prepared to abandon if you need to. There are going to be days when, and that happened for me last Friday. I had a presentation or had something due, and the kids were driving me mad, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning when I should have been doing work with them. And I just said, you know what? Screens for the next hour, go nuts. And I was able to sit in my office and do what I needed to do, which was really important. So sometimes you just need to abandon it as well. Yeah. Prioritize the important stuff and forget the rest. Okay. And I'll talk more about that when I show you my schedule.
Okay.
All right. So I think we should get into it. I wonder, Tash, can we be a bit clever and just go out of the PowerPoints and I will show you my schedule, because I think it's kind of cool if everyone can see this. And I'm really conscious of the glare here. So talk you through this. Even if you can't see it, I'll talk you through. At 8 o'clock, breakfast, free time. I'm not going to lie. I am really loving the sleep-ins at the moment. Loving it. So I'm not getting up till 8. So kids are gaming. They're doing whatever they want. I don't actually care as long as they're not setting fire to the house. Breakfast, free time, that's fine. But at 8:30, like on the dot, they need to be getting dressed. They've both got medications that they need to have, and they need to make their beds. Can I just say, loving this about ISO. This is what we're calling isolation. Loving it because they're doing more household stuff than they've ever done before. Like, loving it. Yeah. So they never made their beds. They never picked up their towels off the floor, and now they are, because I'm here and I have got all the time in the world. So I follow that up, and yeah, it's great. That's the part I'm loving. We always start our day with moving our body. So got a few options here. We take our dog Frankie for a walk around the block. It's a bit warm still here in Queensland, so otherwise we can go for a bike ride, but there's some like hilarious online YouTube, or some really great YouTube resources, so use them. PE with Joe was a really famous one with this guy from England at the moment. I couldn't walk the next day after we did his workout, but the kids were ready and focused to learn when they got into their schoolwork, so that it did its job. My daughter's doing some gymnastics, kind of stretching kind of stuff at the moment. I'm doing a bit of yoga. So whatever it is, dance party in the lounge room, doesn't matter. Get them moving first up. And then we launch into schoolwork, okay? Now, in my head, this time, this 9:30 time, I don't try and do work at this time. I am just there to direct them, to get them on task, to answer questions, to just sit there with my cup of tea and go, right, what do you guys need? Because I was finding I was trying to do work and they just had all these questions and needed. So my kids are 9 and 11. If you've got teenagers, then this is going to be different. But they need me in that first session to be able to direct them a bit better. Then we stop at lunch. And you know, I was saying before about building things into your routine so you don't have to keep thinking about it. Fruit. I'm like, don't eat anything else except for fruit at morning tea. And then I know we're all not going to get scurvy, as my wise friend said recently. I don't have to think, oh, have they had enough fruit today? They have fruit every morning, so I don't have to think about it. Yeah. So, and then they move as well. That's another opportunity. Go jump on the trampoline, wrestle on the couch. I don't care. Just move your body and get ready to be settled back in. So it's just a small break, so we don't lose the flow. The second schoolwork session there is more independent. So my kids have a lot of online stuff they have to do. So Literacy Planet, Maths Online, they can do that without my help, thank the Lord. So this time here is when I can get a little bit of work done. So yeah, as long as I know I need to be with them at this time slot, I get a break here. And then 12 o'clock. So I'm giving us a full hour of do whatever the heck you want. I'm still not allowing them to game. This is just what works for our family between 9 and 3. But they are allowed to watch television. They have to move on their break. I do get a few cheeky loads of washing in, or, you know, come and unstack the dishwasher. But it's just a time where it's unstructured, and I think kids need that time as well. Yeah. 1 o'clock. Oh, so you might have noticed the ones in blue are the mummy times, okay? This meditation time at 1 o'clock. Do you think my kids meditate for an hour? No. But they think they have to. So they try and get out of it. And I'm like, okay. But really, that time is for me. So I've been doing meditation classes. I've been just lying on my bed and reading my damn book without someone annoying me. So that time is quiet time. So, you know, I just say to them, don't talk to me. Go and read a book. Again, they're supposed to be reading every day. That is the time to read when they're feeling fresh. So that's how we're doing it at the moment. But it just gives me this beautiful time after lunch when I'm feeling a bit frazzled to just de-stress. And then at 2 o'clock, they know this schedule pretty good now, because they're coming to me at 2 going, okay, it's art time, Mum. We have found some pretty cool art tutorials where we're sitting down as a family and doing art, which is hilarious. I am not an artist. If you know my family, you know my husband is the artist in our family. But we just sit down. Yesterday we made frogs, these cute little frog princes, and There's so much art at the moment. So you know what we're doing with it all? We're actually putting it on our front fence, and we've created this little art exhibition, which is just bringing delight to anyone who walks past our house. And we've written all these beautiful messages, you know, stay safe, everything will be okay. We've written all these kind of messages up, and we're just putting our art up, covered in plastic, obviously. But yeah. So it's getting the art out of my house, and it's just connecting with the neighbours that are going past. So yeah, that's our art time in the afternoon. I'm not a lover of, you know, crayons and stuff, so, and I do sewing, so I might do some sewing while they do an art tutorial or something. Yeah. And definitely playing outside. So yeah, nothing. School is still on until 3 o'clock, even if they finish art or something a bit earlier. I just want to spend a bit of time talking about project time. This is such a find, and this is something I kind of came up with. My two, I don't know, they're at this really funny age. I've got a boy and a girl, don't have a huge amount in common, but both obsessed with YouTube. So I'm like, you know what? Every afternoon from 2 till 3, as well as art, is project time. Go and make a movie. Get your iPad and use it for good and not evil. Go and you know, create a YouTube clip. Go and do literally anything that requires the two of you to work together. So they might create an obstacle course outside. That one day they got onto Minecraft and created a dream house, and then I had to judge which was the best. But they work together. So it's actually really lovely, and I've seen their relationship become quite closer just from this project time. So that was a total mistake, but it's been really amazing. And sometimes it even goes past the 3 o'clock deadline. You know, like 3 o'clock is like end of school, but sometimes they're just so engrossed in what they're doing, they're still doing their project, you know, well into the afternoon. So yeah, that was just a little accidental, like a happy accident, really, I find. And then 3 o'clock, all bets are off. Like, school is out. You can game till your heart's content, and I don't want to know about it. So notice here I've got some mum time. So this is really great because once they're fed, I don't hear from them, and that's when I can sit down and really get a lot of my work done. So yeah, this is just quarantine time. Sometimes I will Skype my friends and video chat, which is another thing that's kind of keeping me sane during this time. So that's the time that I do that. Yeah, and so they can just go nuts for a couple of hours, and then at 5 o'clock we'll take Frank for a walk, our puppy, and yeah, just connect with our neighbours and say hi. We might take some baking to someone, do some acts of kindness, and then yeah, it's the usual kind of routine that they would expect after school. You know, Dad gets home at 6, baths, dinner, the rest. So we're trying to keep some kind of sense of normality in that way. So yeah, but that is literally what I've worked out for me. And notice it was on a whiteboard because we have scratched things out and tried other things. We've played around with timing. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense and has given you an idea. And then yeah. So have we got those slides back, Tash? I'll just highlight a couple of important things. Sorry, Mrs. Technical Lady, making you work hard.
All good. Oh.
So if we go to the next slide, yeah. So on the right there is just some like funny memes. They're keeping me going, I swear. So just what I've scheduled in there is mental well-being time for me as well. Definitely moving. I haven't exercised so much. I'm feeling great in my body. I'm noticing the effects on my mental health because I'm having to force the kids to do it. So I'm doing it too. So that's been amazing. I really want to make a point about accessing the right amount of information as it develops, so not 24 hours a day. Be very careful about how much news your kids are watching, and even if they're just gaming in the corner while you're watching the updates, they are listening and they are taking everything in. So please be mindful of that because they're going to make up their own stories and create anxiety for them. So yeah, just accessing the highlights maybe from reputable news sources
That's important for the adults' well-being.
Yes.
COVID-19 information at the moment. I need to have a break from it now and then too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that, I think that's really important for everyone, like you said, Tash. And there is this real life skills focus at the moment. Like 2-3 weeks ago, my kids were not able to, they're probably able to do it, but they wouldn't hang clothes on the washing line. They would groan and moan when I asked them to stack the dishwasher. And now it's just like, you know what, this is life. We're all pitching in. So it's a really perfect time to do some life skills 101, how to flip a pancake, how to make a meal, how to meal plan for the family. It's just gold time to be doing that at the moment. Yeah, I put in there about the kindness act. I think that's something that's been really lovely that we've incorporated into our schedule, is just at least once a day, like writing a letter and posting it off to a grandparent, taking some baking to a neighbour, whatever it is. Yeah, all with using the social distancing rules, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just don't forget, give yourself a week or two to really find your rhythm. We're only just kind of finding our own flow at the moment, which has almost been 2 weeks in, so it will take a while, and really can't reiterate enough just that flexibility to throw it all in the bin and have a PJ day if it's needed.
Yep.
So I just wanted to mention that our kids are scared like we are. They're anxious like we are. And I saw this really fantastic, and we can put the slides in, yeah, Tash, for people to have a look at this later. I don't necessarily need you to read this all, but I wanted to point out this graphic on the right here is just so important. What we see is our kids acting out, even teenagers being grumpy and irritable. We see the "I'm so mad" part, but what's underneath that is they don't have the language to say to us, "I miss my friends. It's just too much change. You know, I'm really scared. This is confusing. What if you get sick? You know, they've told me that grandparents are really at risk. What if my grandparents get sick? Are they going to die?" You know, that's what they're thinking underneath, you know, the behavior that we see is acting out and anger and irritability. But just wanting to really remind ourselves that it's really normal if we're seeing that behavior at the moment. The best thing that I've read on the internet and on, you know, health professional websites or anything is this letter from a teacher and a principal. And I just wanted to share some thoughts about that, kind of as some final thoughts, Tash, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So she says, our kids are just as scared as we are right now. They can not only hear everything that is going on, but they feel our constant tension and anxiety. They've never experienced anything like this before, and neither have we. Although the idea of being off school for weeks sounds awesome, they are probably picturing a fun time like school holidays and not the reality of being trapped at home and not seeing their friends. So, and my son was crying last night and he just said, "I just don't like this new life. I don't like it." So, yeah, that's really, really normal when that's happening. So we're going to see an increase in, I'm just going to get rid of that. Sorry, that's my phone.
I wasn't sure if that was you or me.
Yeah, sorry. We'll see an increase in behaviour issues. So you'll see more meltdowns, more tantrums, oppositional behaviour in the coming weeks. This is really normal. We have to remember that, and completely expected under these circumstances. So what kids need right now is to feel loved and comforted, to feel like it's going to be okay. And that might mean tearing up the perfect schedule and just love on your kids a bit more. So play outside, go on walks, bake cookies, paint pictures, play board games, watch movies, build a tent city in the lounge room and have a family sleepover there. We are not facing an educational crisis right now. I love that. So hear that. We are not facing an educational crisis, especially if your kids are in primary school. Don't worry about them regressing in schoolwork, because when they're back in the classroom, Teachers will course correct. That's what they're good at. They will meet them where they're at. So don't pick fights with your kids for, you know, not wanting to do that math problem and following the schedule. At the end of this, your kids' mental health will be more important than their academic skills, and how they felt during this time will stay with them long after the memory of what they did during the weeks ahead. So please remember what's important.
Yeah, that's great. You have another slide? There we go.
Yeah, and just remember, we're all just doing the best we can right now. A bit of self-compassion goes a long way, which is the message at the beginning of this chat. But again, just wanting to end with that, you know, you are doing the best you can, and that's enough right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have any questions? Anita or Lee, did you want to ask anything?
No, thank you.
Hi. Oh, hello. Back in the tropics. No, I don't have any questions. I have teenagers, so I was listening to your comments there, Tammie. I think you had some great tips there. Didn't have my video on the whole time because I didn't want it to be annoying for you both, but I was nodding my head a lot.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I think that whole point about just finding your flow first, give the whole family time to find it. So true. I'm one to just dive in, but I know that's not helpful at the moment. You've just got to kind of, you know, feel your way and set it up slowly.
Yeah, and that was my inclination too. I'm like, oh, I've got this. I was born for this. You know, I'm going to create the best routine you've ever seen, and my kids are just
the crap out of this.
Yeah, that was my coping response, and then it didn't work. So yeah, I've found that it is really the best thing. Probably just you mentioned teenagers, and I guess the thing that I wanted to say about teenagers, I had it in my Facebook page the other day. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but I just wanted to give a special mention to parents trying to parent teenagers in this time, because they are hardwired to rebel against what we say as parents and as authority figures. So they kind of need to come to the understanding of how serious this is. Yeah, through us, that's our job. Don't stop parenting, but try and be clever about it. If there's someone that they really connect with, an auntie or an uncle, or, you know, someone else in their sphere of influence who's a bit older and wiser, you know, having a word to them and saying, can you just chat with them about why they can't go out with their friends? You know, and I put it back on this generation. I say, guys, you are the best connected. You need to teach our generation and older how to do this. You've got 4,000 social apps that you can connect on. So do that. Don't be seeing each other in the flesh. It's just not worth it. So I think, you know, recruiting someone else in from the village, just to have a quiet word with them can be really helpful. And then the other thing with teenagers is you're battling the invincibility curse, that it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to my grandparents. That's just literally their front cortex of their brain is not developed. It's like asking a fish to climb a tree. We can't expect teenagers to have the mind of a 35-year-old. So trying to make it personal to them. So if they've got a really loved grandparent or a family friend who's, you know, quite vulnerable with asthma or with diabetes or had cancer, using that and saying, imagine if you were the one that made that person sick. You know, how would you feel then? These are the people we're talking about. It's not some, you know, abstract concept. These are people in your life that you're keeping safe by being home right now. So yeah, I just thought that's probably worth mentioning, those two tips for teenagers in particular.
Great tips. Yeah, one of the struggles we had with one of our teenagers was whenever we talked about this, he said, but nobody's sick, I've checked. I said, well, that's only part of the puzzle, honey. You know, like that's the obvious sign, and by then it's probably too late. You know, we need to isolate to prevent people from getting sick. So that it was really hard for him to understand that. I think we're getting there now, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and it takes time, and that's the old teenager, like, I actually know everything. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Mum, but I actually know everything. Yeah. So isn't it funny because they think they know more than these medical experts who can't even agree. You know, they're top medical guys in our field. They're just making this stuff up as they go along. They're trying to give us the best advice they have at the time. And yeah, teenagers just think they know better than them, which is hilarious and gorgeous. And, oh, you just got to love them.
We do. Thanks, honey. Well done. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks, Tasha.
I love the way that you say, you know, it's just gorgeous. We just got to love them. Whereas parents of teenagers are like, oh,
I know. Yeah, I always wonder how I'll go when my two become a little bit older and a bit more challenging. I'm already seeing some tween behaviour, but I have an appreciation that it is much different to be a kid's therapist than it is their mum. Yeah. So good on you, mums. Keep up the good work.
one of the ways I'm looking at it at the moment, because I've got a 19-year-old daughter who, you know, is on the cusp of moving out and starting her own life and everything. I see this as a bit of a gift that she's now forced to be at home with us, and she's coping really well with it. But, you know, I'm really appreciative of the fact that I've got a little bit more time with them being at home and being dependent on me again for a while, and I have to be the empty nester. So.
Oh, and I think that's important, Tash. Like, you raise a really good point about there are some real silver linings. I don't know if, I think silver linings is probably the way to say it, but there are some good things to come out of this. From my point of view, it's like seeing the kids getting along beautifully, having more family time together, which we always are too busy to do. So there's many things. My husband's done 4,000 jobs around the house, which is amazing. So there are a few things, and what a beautiful reframe that you get to spend time with your kids before they are out in the world.
It's lovely. All right, I'm going to stop the recording, but just stay online for a tick. Thank you very much for that, Tammie. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
No worries at all.